Cometh the day, cometh the hour. Yeah, bring that in please, Shona. It is finally time for us to leave, but we have slack water. We have slack water in about half an hour. So final jobs, take the cockpit tent down, or the last bits of the cockpit tent down, and turn this boat into a boat again. So the wind has swung. Literally we got 10 minutes until slack water and then we'll be off. So my last day, hour here in America as a kind of as non-transient. It's been amazing. Really enjoyed the States. Fantastically hospitable country. We've got friends for life here now, and that's it really. Just need to get a wriggle on and get going.
Are you gonna bow out or are you gonna reverse out?
I'll bow out. Alright, Shine, are you on board? Have I got my crew on?
He's going to be swimming behind you.
Finally underway. We have done what any sensible English sailing team would do, which is get the kettle on and get a cup of tea. So we have what, 6 hours? There we go, nice cup of tea. Then we'll head out tomorrow if the weather's clement, otherwise we won't. But I think the forecast that we saw was good. So yeah, just nice to be back. So we're about 3 hours into our trip down the river. There was always going to be a front passing through today, but it's not unpleasant, it's just not pleasant. I'm rugged up, I've got t-shirts, hoodies, a windproof jacket on and a hat. The true wind is 20 knots, 20 to 22, and we're going straight into it. So we've got about 25, 26 knots across the deck, which is refreshing. Thankfully we've picked up the tide now, so we're just running out the river on the ebb. So we've got a little bit of engine and we've got 6 knots going down. I think we've got about another couple of hours to go and we'll anchor up for the night, get an up-to-date weather forecast, get a hot meal down our necks, and then hopefully if we've got some fairly good conditions tomorrow, we'll set off out into the open sea. So yeah, the ICW, I've done a little stretch of it before. It's just, well, it's a slog. It's a very old slog. Anyways, that's where we are. ICW, heading down to the Edisto River. But nice to be back on the water. You know, the boat needs to be sailed. There you go. Well, it looks like we've done the first sail of the season, and when I say sail, it was realistically a 6-hour motor, but it's good to be back on the water and actually moving. And we are anchored in the Edisto River. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I'm windburnt to high heaven because it's been windy out there, and we'll just stay here till tomorrow morning when we will head out to sea and then see what the weather's going to throw at us. So it's good. Happy to be here. Morning, bright and early, day 2. So it's about 8 a.m. We're up on deck early. Shiner was up earlier than I was. Very quick breakfast. Check the weather. The weather is actually, I'm not even going to say anything, I don't want to jinx myself, but it looks favourable. We have a beautiful main up. We always try and get the main up in anchorage. It's just easier to do it when you're head to wind naturally, and because we don't know what we're going to be heading for out there, we're going to put 2 reefs in. Start with 2 reefs. It's always easy to remove a reef, less easy to put a reef in. Anyway, we'll get going and let you know how we get on. We're going to try and see where we get today. We're going to try and do a longer passage, but let's see what we get done. Well, we finally get the motor out of the river. We've got, what, 2 miles to go? 2 miles to go, we hit open water. I've looked at the swell report. I'm hoping that that is correct. And we leave the beautiful state of South Carolina this morning for the state of Georgia. Bye bye Bo Hickett, hello Savannah or St. Augustine.
I was lost in a city dream, and I was at home again beside the stream. Then you walked past me, and you saw me and smiled. I will never forget the first time when I saw you. I thought I lost my mind.
Well, as you can see, it's there's an inherent, the wind's coming from the north, which is good because it's blowing us down the coast, and we all like wind off the quarter. However, with northern winds come northern temperatures, and one reason that I decided to take the boat to the tropics was because I hate the cold. I suffer so badly, so I have gazillions of layers on. But as long as my ears are warm, it tends to be alright. Well, it's not even offshore sailing, is it? It's coastal sailing. But I kind of think that as a sailor, I feel a lot happier being back out here now. It's cold. It is cold. The temperature is 13 degrees, which is about 10 degrees below the minimum that I will find acceptable for any sailing. But I have multiple layers on. It's also pretty. It's lovely and pretty out here. We've got blue sky. The engine's off. The autopilot's on. We are running completely using the wind vane, which always makes me happy because, well, 1, it's green, 2, it means that we're not using any battery power, not using any energy, and secondly, thirdly, it just works better because it's set to the wind, so you set your sails and it works around those. So as the wind shifts, you just, you have to alter it and trim your sails a little bit. But as I said, it's just lovely to be back out here, and I've got these little crackers which are my go-to snack when I am offshore. So one of my guilty pleasures at sea is Bovril. For our American friends who have no idea what Bovril is, It's liquid beef extract that you make drinks from. Sounds disgusting, but it's not. My friend Shina, who's crewing with me, can drink more tea than an average Indian village in a day. I can't drink that much tea. I end up pissing all day long, and with this weird kind of headache from tea drinking. So I have to try and find something which is savoury and hot and tasty, and the old Victorian drink of Bovril comes to the rescue. So for those of you who have had it, it's lovely. For those of you who haven't had it, you may not like it. All I would say is that if you ever come sailing with me, please don't ask for Bovril, because I keep a very close eye on my dwindling stash, because I can't find it anywhere. But if you do come and visit, bring Bovril. Anyway, I'm going to try not to spill hot beef extract all over my lap. We shook the reefs out, and now we are batting along at 7 knots. 7 knots, we've got 140 miles to go before we can stop. It's bright, beautiful, but cold. So there we go. Anyway, that's 11 a.m. Okay, so 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. I am just coming on to watch. We've had 3 hours off watch. What do I do when I'm off watch? Go to bed and sleep. Yeah, one thing about, well, long passage making is there's not a lot to do, so you sleep, and if you're not sleeping, you're on watch, and if you're not watch, you're eating. It kind of, you go back to basic things, but thus far we've had a lovely sail. The wind's light, the sea state is calm, there's a foot or two of swell, and we've got bright sunshine. It is going to be cold tonight though, so hence I am rugged up with 5 or 6 different layers on. I have my hat and gloves for later, and we have a good hot meal which I'm looking forward to. I think we really do, when we're sailing, look forward to the little treats, and a hot meal is a real treat for us, so it's going to be good. We've eaten like kings. Well, we've eaten like kings with a very poor diet. And yeah, we hope to be passing St. Augustine lunchtime tomorrow. So all good really. Why has he turned side on to me?
He's just heading into the way. Okay, maybe you want to do the same. There's some big wasps. He got half a minute ago.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
Cursing you. Okay, so we're tied up in St. Augustine. To tell you the truth, the only thing I can show you really from debris from the last 12 hours is just wet bedding that's drying, but we just took a real shellacking going down the coast. And to say the truth, it's probably the most frightened I've ever been while sailing, which is something. We've done an Atlantic crossing. So we went to bed last night. You know, we had like 15, 16 knots off the aft quarter, it was fine. Woke up this morning, 25 blowing 30 knots. We're like, okay, that could be problematic. Got to the St. Augustine inlet and had a long look at the pilot books, and we had internet again by then because the mobile was picking up, and it said do not enter this inlet unless it's calm. So we're like, okay. So I called up a couple of people like mariners, and they're like, well, the buoys are all out of place since the hurricane. I wouldn't come in. And then I called up another place, and the bloke's like, I can see there's like 10 or 11 foot seas breaking on the seawall. I wouldn't come in. So we're like, right, what do we do? So the options were to go north to Jacksonville, which is a big commercial port and it's got a much wider entrance, or keep going south. But then if we keep going south, we're going to get hit with the swell. So Sharon and I just looked at each other and we're like, you know, we've got to make the best of a really bad deal here. Anyway, cut a long story short, at that point we managed to snap the topping lift, which meant that we couldn't lower our main anyway effectively, and it was too dangerous to go out on deck and fix a halyard to work as a topping lift. So we called Cito, who was the man we were told to talk to about it, and we're like, look, can you tell us where the buoyage is? We're going to have to try and get in. And at that point I honestly thought we are going to lose the boat doing this. You hear so many stories about fools going into marinas or into inlets that they don't know in bad weather and stacking it on reefs or sandbanks. So he was really good. He's like, look, I will send you some text messages of pictures where the buoys are. So we called him and we kept calling him back. We called him. And in the end he's like, look, how big are the seas out there? And Shina's like, 2 to 3 feet. They weren't 2 to 3 feet, they were like 6 to 8 feet. And he came out in his boat and brought us in. He showed us in, and I'm like, brilliant. And I phoned him up and said, what do we owe you? And he's like, nothing. So blown away by his kindness. It is a chap called Troy or Trey at Cito US in St. Augustine. Huge thank you to you. If we can repay the compliment or repay the favour in any way, just let us know. It was just amazing what you did for us. We probably wouldn't have got the boat in without you, and your little boat was getting tossed everywhere and we were getting thrown around. So, you know, we took a wave over the stern, which just drenched everything. So super glad to be tied up, super relieved, super tired, and Simon and I are going to celebrate still being alive by eating shrimp. Shrimp it is. It is quite difficult to kind of compare where I am now, which is 4 p.m, full of delicious fried shrimp, you know, with the sun on my back, to where we were at 11 a.m. this morning, kind of literally thinking we were going to lose the boat. So yeah, thank the Lord for small mercies. That's about as scared as I've ever been on a boat. Seems like a distant dream now, but sometimes you are put in a situation with sailing where there is no right choice, and I think that Sean and I have known each other a long time, and when these things happen, we take time afterwards to kind of like work out what we would have done if we'd had our time differently. And I think we were, you know, just lucky that a very, very kind man came out to take us in. Otherwise, there's a good chance we would have lost the boat. and I'm not embellishing this, that entrance was horrible, and we were faced with going south and watching the weather deteriorate even further as this norther swings in, or losing the boat on a shoal with like 8 to 12 foot breaking seas over sandbars that were unmarked. So I'm not sure there's anything we could have done differently. The weather changed from what we had, and we had 3 or 4 different passage plans. And we actually had got to the point where we had decided just to not to go in. Literally, we decided not to go in, and we were just going to take our chances, go out to sea, always go out to sea. And then the topping lift snapped. So we couldn't even lower the boom, and I refused to let Shiner go up on deck to try attaching a spinnaker halyard to the boom end. We were bucking around too much. It was just, yeah, we had some difficult choices to make today. Thankfully it all came out right. I'm not sure how we could have done things differently, but here we are, full of shrimp, and very thankful that we had a good ending. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is our first episode, our first video as we set off. It's been, as they say, a game of 2 halves. Some really amazing sailing yesterday, some bloody awful sailing today, and we'll continue through the ICW now until this weather settles, then we'll jump across to the Bahamas. Thanks for watching.